Fourth man, platoon number 1, move forward a wee bit. Move up a wee bit. Steady. Carry the line. Number 2, platoon. First man, move up a wee bit. Carry the line. First man, pressure platoon, move up a wee bit. Steady. Carry the line. Stand still. The front row. Fourth man, reverend. Platoon number 1, move up a wee bit. Steady. Carry the line. Police, platoon number 2. First man, move up a wee bit. Steady. Carry the line. Prisoner. First man, move back a wee bit. Steady. Prisoner, fire. Number 1, platoon. First person, move back a wee bit. Steady. Stand still. The rear. Good. Eyes front.
Take that, man.
Officers, draw squad.
All right.
Down. Standard in. Easy.
you most likely going to come from there.
Because we want to do an region for approximately security reasons. And to the market.
Really? Then we're going to shoot you. Let's go. Then I'm going to I think you should just go and get it to her. Really? Maybe after you way back, you know, I think it's so good. What is going to happen? You knew that was coming.
Shema.
I'm going to pick another photographer.
Almighty God, who, in thy infinite wisdom and providential goodness, hast appointed the offices of rulers and councils for the welfare of society and the just government of man. We beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Good morning to all.
Madam Speaker.
Adoption of the order paper.
Madam Speaker, I'm not sure you look a bit younger this morning. You have a new spectacles and you lost some weight.
I'm trying
Right.
to look better.
Madam Speaker, I move that the order paper be adopted.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the order paper be adopted. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Suspension of sitting.
I now suspend the sitting in order to receive His Excellency the President and invite everyone to stand.
Excellency, on the occasion of the first meeting of the third session of the 9th Parliament of the Commonwealth of Dominica, I, Cleville Mills, Acting Superintendent of Police, have the privilege to present to you a guard of honor comprising the Dominica Government Band, 2 platoons from the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, 1 platoon from the Dominica Prison Service, and 1 platoon from the Dominica Fire and Ambulance Service. They are formed up in 2 ranks, dressed in open order, ready and awaiting your inspection, sir. Will Your Excellency please inspect the guard? Mr. Richard Wallace. Take over number 2 item. Right. Shoulder up. Right. Turn. Hurry the left. Quick. Fast.
Madam Speaker, I thank you most profoundly for the invitation which you have so graciously extended to me and my wife, Clara, to attend the first meeting of the third session of the 9th Parliament and for me to address this honorable House. My wife, Clara, joins me in thanking you for your kind invitation. Madam Speaker, honorable members, from time to time, the view is expressed by some that if Christopher Columbus were to return to the Caribbean, that Dominica is the only island he would be able to recognize. Those who express that view do so with a sense of cynicism, meaning that Dominica has remained virtually undeveloped since the days of Columbus. I hold an opposite view, however. Columbus visited Dominica some 524 years ago, and the Spanish, French, and the British were in charge of and responsible for the development of this country until 1978. That is for some 485 years. Up to 60 years ago, that is in the mid-50s, when former Prime Minister Edison James and I left Marigot and Portsmouth, respectively, to attend secondary school in Roseau, there was no road communication between Marigot and Roseau and between Portsmouth and Roseau. From Marigot, you would have to come to Portsmouth by truck, and from Portsmouth, take a coastal motorboat or launch to travel to Roseau by sea, a journey taking some 2.5 hours. There was no electricity in Portsmouth and Marigot and points in between. There was no pipe-borne water in most homes, just a few standpipes. There were no radios, no televisions, and no house phones. There was no airport of any kind. A seaplane would arrive in the Portsmouth harbor once or twice a week, and passengers would disembark into small boats and be rowed ashore and taken to Roseau in a fast government boat, the crash launch. And banana and cargo boats would anchor 100 or so yards offshore, and lighters were towed out to load and offload them. If Columbus were to return to Dominica today, he would fly from Spain to the Dominican Republic, the Hispaniola of his first landfall, and he would do this in 8 hours and 25 minutes instead of the 69 days of his first voyage. From Santo Domingo, he would fly to Martinique in 4 hours, and from Martinique to Douglas Charles in 25 minutes. He would probably arrive at night to find the airport lit with solar lights. There would be solar lights along the highway to Roseau. He would most likely be greeted by a Kalinago immigration officer, driven to Roseau by a Kalinago taxi driver, received at Fort Young Hotel by a Kalinago receptionist, and from the veranda of his waterfront suite at the hotel, contemplate the Caribbean Sea and the largest cruise ship afloat, berthed at the Roseau cruise ship berth. If he needed medical attention, there would be a Kalinago doctor and Kalinago nurses at the Princess Margaret Hospital, where a $100 million state-of-the-art modern hospital is being constructed. His legal issues would probably be handled by a Kalinago lawyer. And should he wish to learn English and economics, he would be tutored by a Kalinago lecturer at the new state-of-the-art campus of the Dominica State College. He would watch cricket at the Windsor Park Stadium, go scuba diving and whale watching, and hike the National Trail. He would visit the State House and the Financial Center, and on Sunday, attend Mass celebrated by a Kalinago Roman Catholic priest. So, Madam Speaker, honorable members, if Columbus were to return to Dominica today, he would say to the news reporters and the commentators on social media that he had discovered, Madam Speaker, that Dominica was as developed as any other island in the Eastern Caribbean, and in some areas, even more so. Madam Speaker, in the 38 years since our independence, we have managed our development and improved the lives of our citizens and residents while preserving our pristine and natural endowments. This is a unique achievement when compared to other states that went about their development by inflicting untold damage to their natural environment, to the lasting regret of most of them. In the process of development, there are many contending voices crying out to be heard, each of them claiming a legitimate cause. In the final analysis, however, it is the majority view, as expressed at the polls, that prevails. Madam Speaker, current Western journalism has become enchanted by the expression fake news. This expression, an offshoot of the digital age in which we live, was coined out of the tendency of various media outlets and websites to deliberately publish hoaxes, propaganda, and disinformation purporting to be real news. This fake news seeks to mislead rather than to truthfully inform readers. Our small, vulnerable island home has not been spared from this dangerous journalistic virus. It has had the effect of presenting a false and misleading picture of Dominica to the outside world, and has the potential to impede or even derail our development as we transition to a service-based economy by slowing down the rate at which much-needed foreign direct investment is attracted to our shores. Madam Speaker, the negativism which surrounds the packaging of this fake news also has the effect of denying and discounting the tremendous advances we have made and continue to make as a small, independent island state. It decimates and seeks to render insignificant the tremendous progress we have made in infrastructural development and social protection, in spite of our many challenges. Against this backdrop, I wish to recall some of the words I delivered to this Honorable House at the opening of the second session of the 9th Parliament 1 year ago in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Erika. And I quote, "A bright light is beginning to shine at the end of the tunnel of death, damage, and destruction left behind by Tropical Storm Erika. It is left to our citizens to grasp the opportunity to be bold and selfless in taking advantage of the financial and technical support that is being made available to us by our development partners in refashioning Dominica into a less vulnerable, more resilient, and prosperous place." End of quote. Madam Speaker, I am therefore pleased to present this address under the theme, Building Resilience and Fostering Social Cohesion and Recovery in a Post-Erika Reconstruction Period. As I do so, I will highlight some of the advances in governance that should make us all proud. I shall also make an appeal for changing some habits and practices that can erode the recovery which all citizens and residents and members on both sides of this Honorable House desire. Having already been in public life when Hurricane David, with winds exceeding 250 kilometers per hour, struck Dominica in 1979, I must compare and contrast our preparatory and response capacity to disasters that existed then with what prevails today. In 1979, the Office of Disaster Management, the ODM, did not exist. There was therefore little advance warning of the approaching hurricane. In its aftermath, even the security forces were in disarray, and for as much as 1 week, civil disorder took hold of the capital city, Roosevelt, as citizens looted stores and warehouses in search of supplies of food and other household goods. The post-David assessment indicated that 37 people had lost their lives, 5,000 were injured, 22% of the housing stock was destroyed, and 44% suffered severe or moderate damage, and the economy was totally ruined. Recovery of the housing stock was extremely slow, and for 2 years after the hurricane, there were families still living in tents at the Botanic Gardens and on the Pottersville playing field. The phrase tent city was coined to refer to them. This is an important aspect of our post-disaster history that we should not forget. The current generation, enabled by communication and technological advances, and with the benefits flowing from the establishment of the Office of Disaster Management, probably takes for granted the stability and order that was maintained after Erika. The ODM was established to take proactive and timely measures to prevent or reduce the impact of disasters on the Dominican people and economy through collaborative efforts with national, regional, and international agencies. 2 years post-Erika, no family who suffered damage or loss of their home can claim to be homeless. what can be described as enlightened and progressive social protection policy has resulted in ensuring that families in need were provided with housing paid for by government. New homes were constructed for the residents of Dubique, while 340 residential units are being constructed in an entire new community in Bellevue-Chopin to house 823 residents of Petite-Savanne. Reports reaching the office of the President indicate that numerous small and micro businesses that suffered loss from Erica were provided with financial support so that they returned to normal economic activity in record time. Notwithstanding the trauma inflicted on the communities of Dubique, Petite-Savanne, Coliho, Coulibistry, etc., there nevertheless was order and efficiency in handling the immediate post-disaster situation. Madam Speaker, members of this Honorable House, such massive social and economic support after a disaster was unknown in the past. We can therefore take pride in the fact that we have set a new benchmark to restore social and economic order in the wake of a natural disaster. More so, we did this largely with the assistance of sister islands in the OECS and CARICOM, and the support of our nationals at home and abroad, and without being too heavily dependent on the inflow of resources from international donors and development partners. However, Madam Speaker, this has necessitated a diversion of scarce financial resources away from hitherto identified development priorities, both in the public and the private sectors. This post-Erica reconstruction has ushered in the largest public sector expenditure in our recent history, and coupled with massive investments in the hotel sector, largely funded under the Citizenship by Investment program, have made the task of achieving our targets in infrastructural development and improving living standards in our country achievable, even if on a more extended timetable than otherwise would have been the case. Hence, the justification for taking action aimed at fostering resilience in the thrust towards economic growth and development. Central to the effort at fostering resilience are considerations of human capital formation, institutional capacity building, as well as technology transfer and adaptation, aspects which already constitute policy priorities for government. For a small island developing state such as Dominica, vulnerability is embedded in the structure of the economy, arising principally from two factors, namely exposure to foreign economic conditions and proneness to natural disasters. So, for example, the significant reduction in output and the performance of the local banana industry from its peak export level in 1988 of 74,000 tons and EC $103.6 million in foreign exchange earnings is indicative of the exposure to foreign economic conditions. Example, the WTO terms and conditions of trade, compounded by storms and hurricanes and plant disease such as black sigatoka. In retrospect, the core message from that experience is that whatever our chosen sector for generating income, especially foreign exchange earnings, whether tourism, manufacturing, agriculture, other services, etc., it is imperative that the products being offered for sale on the external market are competitive. That is, they are as good or better than similar or substitute products or services on that market and price competitive. With respect to proneness to natural disasters, Tropical Storm Erica probably represents the most visible manifestation of global climate change in Dominica. Scientists tell us that climate change arises from global warming, which is caused mainly by emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, notably carbon dioxide and chlorofluorocarbons. Typically, these emissions originate from automobiles and factories which utilize fossil fuels as a source of energy. Among the many anticipated consequences of global climate change are increases in the intensity and frequency of tropical storms, hurricanes, and periods of drought, followed by flooding, attributed to excessive and prolonged rainfall over relatively short periods of time. Madam Speaker, Dominica's reputation as a stable democracy is crucial if the island is to be able to compete successfully in the marketplace for direct foreign investment and visitor expenditure, otherwise known as tourism earnings. All political parties, churches, and community-based organizations have condemned the vandalism and lawlessness which occurred in Roseau on February 7, 2017, and similar events. Yet, some revel in this type of lawlessness and call for a repeat, D-Day 2, without censure by their peers. Such behavior, when taken together, serve to undermine the cohesiveness of society, resulting in wounds, both actual and psychological, that are sometimes difficult to heal. The inhabitants of small open economies, such as ours within the Caribbean region, have to increasingly work purposefully towards generating the foreign exchange earnings necessary to maintain or indeed sustain the standard of living which our people have become accustomed to and which many of them feel entitled to. Hence, the justification for continuing to nurture the transition in the economy now underway towards higher growth in the export of services to include the tourism and culture industries relative to commodity exports. However, this endeavor is being pursued in a manner such that the critical role of commodity production in the mix of aggregate output, originating both in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors, is recognized and suitably encouraged. Madam Speaker, members of this Honorable House, against this background of dynamic change, along with the inevitable uncertainty in outcomes, disputes will arise among people, including between government and the parliamentary opposition. The challenge is to be able to engage in discussion and debates on these differences without resorting to violence and social disorder in search of solutions. Rather, in keeping with the theme of this year's Emancipation celebration, building a culture of peace, an alternative approach is necessary and should constitute a priority for all concerned residents and nationals of the Nature Island. Furthermore, recourse to the judiciary is an option available to every citizen or organization, central to whose work is the resolution of disputes and dispensation of justice. Madam Speaker, while it can be said that we have generally performed well post-Erica, I am compelled to make reference once again to the tone and quality of our civil and political discourse. It appears that there has been a breakdown in our discourse, both private and public, that threatens to eat away at the core of our democracy and which impedes the rate at which we can progress as a developing nation. This is a matter on which members of this honorable House should be particularly sensitive, as the wider society, social media, and even the press take their cue from how members of Parliament treat with each other and articulate on issues of the day in and out of Parliament. Concerned observers in our society have lamented that we seem to have lost the niceties and the fine art of democratic and parliamentary debate and replaced them with invective, innuendo, name-calling, and blatant misrepresentation of the truth. Madam Speaker, I am driven to invoke the words of our late President, Dr. Nicholas J. O. Liverpool, when he addressed the opening of the 7th Parliament in 2006. He had this to say, and I quote, "If we attach undue weight to individual rights at the expense of our duties and responsibilities, we could create an excessive individuality which could easily blind us to the needs of the community or the state to which we belong." Unquote. It is also difficult to escape the observation that many commentators and writers have chosen to use words like patriot in their commentary or writing. This is often done to convey the impression that the use of the word gives credence to what they have to say. Here again, I draw on the wise insight of our late president, where in the same address he said, and I quote, "We also ought to be extremely careful to ensure that love for our preferred political party does not in any way compete with love for country, since love for party often manages somehow to commingle itself with patriotism. We must at all times be on our guard and avoid becoming so beholden to our respective political parties that we find ourselves unable to place love of country ahead of the particular political party which we support. The good citizen must always place his or her patriotism beyond the sphere of political affiliation, because patriotism does not consist of putting our blind trust in anything that our political leaders tell us." Unquote. Madam Speaker, members of this honorable House, time is too short, and the challenges we know of and are working to overcome are too many for us to direct our energies at acts of mutual self-destruction. The lack of give and take will not assist us in overcoming the destructive impacts of climate change. It will not help us to solve the new diseases that keep attacking virtually all our crops. It will not contribute to arresting deviant behavior. It will not contribute to an environment that is attractive to investors. And it will certainly delay attainment of the 5% growth articulated by both sides of this honorable House. Madam Speaker, this first meeting of the third session of the 9th Parliament is taking place at a time when de-risking of the banks in our region threatens to derail our entire economic system. The issue was ventilated in the addresses delivered at the ceremony held at our State House Conference Center last week, when Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit assumed the chairmanship of the Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. This is an issue that we all must confront as one united people, speaking with one united voice, whether at home or abroad. And finally, Madam Speaker, as we consider all of the challenges which lie ahead of us in the post-Erica Reconstruction period, let us, like President Abraham Lincoln during the darkest days of the American Civil War, had to say, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." Madam Speaker, honorable members, may the grace and blessings of God Almighty guard your deliberations as He uses you to arrive at decisions for the benefit of all of our citizens and residents. I thank you.
I will now take leave of His Excellency and Mrs. Savre. House resumes. And we will continue with the order paper.
Yes. Madam Speaker, I move that a message of thanks be forwarded to His Excellency the President for what I believe all of us would have considered a very timely speech given to the Parliament this morning. Madam Speaker, I believe a speech which every one of us in our country should read and to take appropriate notice of. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that a note of thanks be sent to His Excellency on behalf of this Honorable House. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
obituary and congratulatory remarks. Confirmation of minutes of meeting of 23rd, 24th, and 25th May 2017.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meeting of 23rd, 24th, and 25th May 2017 be confirmed as circulated.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of 23rd, 24th, and 25th May 2017 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Announcements by Speaker.
I have a few announcements to make, and first of all, I would like to inform this Honorable House that we received a letter from the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health on behalf of the Honorable Ivor Stevenson, who is overseas receiving medical treatment. I have granted his excuse. Then we also have, a medical was attached. Then I also have to inform the Honorable House of some housekeeping matters. As it relates, first of all, to the media cooperation, I would like to recognize the media personnel who are here today, the journalists and technical personnel. Although for the legislation, the National Broadcasting Institution shall be the only media outlet to broadcast the proceeding, journalists from the media fraternity have been granted permission to attend the meeting. And for purposes of those from overseas, I have to advise you that besides being broadcasted live on DBS on radio and GIS and on mapping on Digiplay on their respective government channels, our nationals who are interested in the diaspora, who are interested in viewing the live coverage via YouTube, can do so through the Dominica GIS YouTube channel, as well as via Facebook Live on the Dominica GIS Facebook page. So persons who are listening on radio who now wish to view may do so, as I say, by going to the GIS Facebook page and picking it up from there. And then I also wish to advise about our new system of requirement of passes. Bearer passes have been issued to a number of persons to attend this meeting. And unlike what was reported in the media, members of Parliament were not given passes, nor were they expected to have passes to enter. This is something that happens constantly, where certain media persons choose to give what His Excellency just referred to as fake news. It is totally untrue that members of Parliament had to have passes to enter this honorable house. Now, the passes that were given to those persons who required them facilitated their entry into the House of Assembly compound. But it must be noticed that these passes were not taken away from those persons when they presented them, either at the point of entry or otherwise. I am therefore advising that it has to be noted that these passes will be required to facilitate entry for the duration of this meeting, and I'm asking persons concerned to note that these said passes are not transferable. It means that in order to gain entry for each sitting, that is the morning session and the afternoon session, the process as obtained on the first day, that is today, will apply every time. so that the passes that you have, if you're coming to the house, those persons upstairs, and those persons who were given passes and who have passes, they have to be used every time you come to the house during this meeting. That said, I would ask the clerk to allow us to proceed with the remainder of the order paper.
Presentation of papers.
Yes?
Madam
No, we are going strictly with the order paper.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I stand on a point of clarification in regards to the minutes we just adopted.
Pardon?
I stand on a point of clarification in regards to the minutes we just adopted, Madam Speaker.
Well, you're a bit late for that.
No, Madam Speaker, I was standing, but you were not looking, Madam Speaker.
Well, we've passed that.
But, Madam Speaker, I was standing.
Member, we've passed that. We can make any adjustments you wish
But
to
Madam
make at
Speaker-
another time. Can we move on, please?
Madam Speaker, but it's a serious matter, so I wanted to ask
Well,
something.
I am telling you, member, that you are too late. You all have to rise at the appropriate time.
Madam Speaker, I was
It was
standing,
not
but
drawn
your
to
head
my
was down,
attention that
Madam
you were
Speaker.
standing. Just what you are doing now,
Yes, Madam
insisting on me taking notice of you, should have been done at the appropriate time. So I'm asking you, please.
But, Madam Speaker, can you ask me at least what is the point of clarification on the matter of the minutes?
We've
It's on the matter of
passed
the minutes,
that.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, after the minutes was confirmed, you made some announcements. I had to at least listen to your announcement if I could ask a question, Madam Speaker. I could not jump in from before you have made your announcement.
The member, please. We are all here, and we all heard what went on. The Prime Minister moved a motion. You did not. But the same protest that you are making now, you could have made then. That was the appropriate time to do it. Now, we should not waste time. The member, I have ruled, and please let us proceed with anything else that we have to do. The member, wait a minute. The member, I have ruled. You have options thereafter. The member, I have ruled. You have options thereafter. The member, I am trying my best to be patient. And I have ruled, the member, I have made a ruling, and we are not going back. I have ruled that the all matters concerning the confirmation of minutes have been passed. We are on the next one, and the member, please take your seat. I will not ask you again. I shall have to do what is necessary. I will have to do what is necessary. And I am telling you that the time has passed. Please take your seat, member. This is not a point of discussion.
Madam Speaker, there is a point of clarification. I want to ask you.
Not now. Not now. Well. You see, me members, this is, member, this is precisely what I'm talking about. Things have to be done properly in a timely manner. You missed the boat. Let us hope there is a next boat that you can Sergeant at Arms, I will have to call on you to assist me, please. I am taking nothing at the moment until we are finished doing what we are supposed to be doing here now. And I am asking the members to take their seat and cooperate. Please. Please. I'm asking, please. We are not taking any, unless you rise on a point of order, I cannot entertain you.
Rising on a point of order, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order? What standing order? Your standing order first, please.
Madam Speaker, there has been a
Your standing
misunderstanding.
order first, please.
44 something, Madam Speaker.
44 something.
Yeah.
No.
44 something. Clarification. Clarification. Point of clarification.
I want you to
Madam
be
Speaker.
more precise than that.
Madam Speaker, point of clarification.
No, we don't. No point of clarification will be taken at this time.
Madam Speaker.
The only thing that I wish members to do is if they rise on a point of order, I will entertain them. No other points will be entertained at this time. Can you please take your seat?
No, Madam Speaker, I wish I wish you to hear me, Madam Speaker.
No,
briefly.
no.
I wish you to hear me briefly.
Member, can you please take your seat? Member. Oh, well, the member, please, there will be a time by which you shall do so, not now.
When
When you are speaking.
Speaker, you have misunderstood.
The member, I have, Sergeant at Arms, please, I need your assistance to get the member to sit, please. You are disturbing the process. No parliament would want to touch you. Why are you hoping to be touched? The members, please take your seat. Members, please take your seat.
For what?
We have a matter on page 24. We need clarification on page 24. You make your announcements. You wait for the announcement to be made. Just if you announce it and we left it alone. You don't hear anybody. You don't hear anybody inside of.
Standing order 50. Standing order 50. No. Standing order.
When the motion is moved, that's when you have to do your issue.
When the speaker stands, all members shall sit. When the speaker stands, all members shall sit. And I am telling the members, we are proceeding today exactly like we have on our order paper. We come back at the day that the Prime Minister will announce, and when we return, members can make all the motions that they have to make. They may do all that they have to do. We are not diverting from the order paper at this time. And I am not taking any member's proposition. Let me read Standing Order 50. The Speaker or the Chairman, after having called the attention of the House or of the committee...
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
It can't be proper for all of these members to be standing in the House.
Therefore we're going to do what we have to do. Members, please, Standing Order 50. Okay? Can I continue, members? Okay, let's go. The Speaker or the Chairman of the House Stop broadcast. Stop broadcast. Stop all broadcast. Stop all broadcast. Members, Ian, let us start with Standing Order 50, please. Okay? Any member who has Standing Order 50 says that where the Speaker calls on the members of the House to attend to what is going on during a debate or otherwise, they may direct him to discontinue and to resume his seat. The member is not doing so, okay? So the Speaker now is asking that any member whose conduct is grossly disorderly to withdraw immediately from the House during the remainder of that sitting. If a direction to withdraw under this paragraph be not complied with at once, or if on any occasion the Speaker or the Chairman considers that his powers under this previous provision of this paragraph are inadequate, the Speaker or the Chairman may name such member in pursuance of the procedure prescribed in the next succeeding paragraphs. So we are going on to where if we ask the member to cease and desist, and he does not do so, we are going to name him and he will be moved. And we will put a motion to say how long the member shall be suspended for, because this is where we are at now. Members have to learn to obey the rules of the House. You are not before a console here. You are to obey the rules of the House. And I just have something I just by chance said that I would like to read to the House, okay? And it goes. Standing Order 86 gives the Speaker the powers to make rulings, to call members to order, etc. This is what I'm attempting to do here, and I insist that the members obey the rule, because if you are named and you are out, I hope you know that while you are on suspension, the repercussions of that. That is all I will say for now. Can we proceed, please?
Madam Speaker.
Please take your seat. I am entertaining no one at this time other than the member. I spoke English. I can say it in Creole. I'll try. Acid, s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. Can we proceed, please, with our presentation of papers? Your mic.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. 1, Proclamation proroguing Parliament, SRO number 21 of 2017. 2, Proclamation reconvening Parliament, SRO number 22 of 2017. 3, Draft estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2017-2018. 4, Economic and Social Review for fiscal year 2016-2017. 5, Dominica Social Security's 2015 Annual Report. 6, Audited Financial Statement of the Government Housing Loans Board for fiscal years 2009 to 2015.
Government notices.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motion and taking all stages of the bill standing in my name on the other paper.
Statement by ministers. Public business, government business, motions.
Estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2018. Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending July 2017 to June 2018, amounting to $854,355,783. the details of which are contained in the draft estimates of the Commonwealth of Dominica for the year ending 30th June 2018. Madam Speaker, Cabinet colleagues, members of this Honorable House, distinguished guests, fellow Dominicans, residents, and friends, I thank Almighty God for watching over us, protecting our country, and inspiring us to remain focused and resolute in pursuing our plans to improve the lives of all our citizens and residents. Today marks an important juncture in Dominica's economic development. Today, this government will grasp the opportunity afforded to us by over a decade of economic resilience and now strong public finances to launch a bold plan. We will build a new, modern, and prosperous Dominica, which will benefit all Dominicans. This new and modern Dominica that we're building will be characterized, among other things, by improved productivity, a fully diversified economy, human resource development, a healthy nation supported by state-of-the-art healthcare services, and access to a globally interconnected country with advanced air and seaport facilities and ICT systems. To this end, this is not just another budget, but an economic plan to build a brighter, more secure future with more well-paid jobs for all Dominicans. It is in this context, therefore, that I am pleased to present this budget under the theme, Realizing a Modern, Prosperous Dominica. Madam Speaker, the Dominican economy performed well in 2016, recording 2.8% growth despite the devastation and setbacks caused by Tropical Storm Erica in 2015. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, forecast that the Dominican economy is expected to grow by 3.1% in 2017 and 2018. This buoyant outlook contrasts sharply with the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean. The IMF warns that growth for this region will only be about 1.1% this year. The growth experienced by Dominica is clearly better than that of the region, and it has also surpassed the average for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU area. Madam Speaker, our economic goal of realizing a modern, prosperous Dominica fits well within our overarching vision of a peaceful and just Dominica. These objectives steer our fiscal, economic, and social policies, as well as our engagement in the international community. Madam Speaker, this is Dominica's moment, and we as a country must seize it. We could cash in the growth dividend of successful economic management with a broad expansion of existing spending programs. That would be far more easier, Madam Speaker. But this government is not in the business of sitting back and basking in its success. What we propose is a bold journey that begins this morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, talk about building a modern, prosperous Dominica comes easy. Setting a course for prosperity demands courageous choices. It requires a set of policies that will allow for, and indeed would facilitate, the main activities and players of our economy shifting and developing in new directions. Madam Speaker, we all know that adjusting to change can be challenging, and the change we are seeking may be taxing on those who are far less inclined to depart from the ways of the past. What we're proposing will shift the central role of government and fully empower citizens to make more of the choices that will determine their future. Madam Speaker, some may be asking themselves, why change when things are going well? When past policies are reaping benefits that are the aspiration of many? To get to where we are today, from vastly unequal education and health opportunities to nearly universal coverage, from the devastation of Hurricane David and Tropical Storm Erica, to levels of human development beyond that of many countries with more resources, the state has had to be central in our development and our economy. Our public officials, government, and citizens should be justly proud of what our state has built through direct intervention in this green and pleasant land. But the challenge, Madam Speaker, is that more of the same will not bring the same advances as before. Those gains have been made. The current economic model must now evolve to take account of new realities. As we transform our economy, we need to imagine a different Dominica where the state plays a different role. The task of taking us to the next level of modernity and prosperity is too complex and comprehensive for any state to do on its own. Henceforth, the state must transform itself so that it is more of a facilitator, a partner, an innovator, and a regulator. We will not adhere to one-dimensional slogans of big versus small government or of privatization versus nationalization. We reject these catch-all solutions often pushed on us from outside. Madam Speaker, the ideology on this side of the House is a movement of citizen-centered development. Moving from state monopolies to private monopolies is not what we are after, because that would not place ordinary citizens at the heart of decisions which determine their own destiny. Something more, something deeper is required. In the new, modern, prosperous Dominica, the main doers will be our people. I am addressing all our citizens, our farmers, our tourism stakeholders, our private and public sectors, our young people. Our definition of success will be whether the broadest cross-sections of our population, from Vegas and Portsmouth to Granby and Lapland, from the Caribbean Sea to the Atlantic coast, have been lifted to a new level of independence, participation, and development. Madam Speaker, government could take the easy route and leave this task to future generations, but I fear that to do so would be to leave it too late for our beloved country. Today's mobility of information, capital, and people, and equally important, the aspirations of today's youth, mean that a country which only promises to do a little better than before is going to lose the people and capital it needs to prosper. Taking the easy route now of sitting back would make our country slip back, imperceptibly at first, but more obviously later. Dominica would end up in a place where its best and brightest minds return only to visit elderly relatives, not a place they choose to stay, to live, work, and grow. It will be to condemn our society and economy to a slow but certain decline. And so, Madam Speaker, since careful, prudential management of our affairs over the past decade has provided this rare opportunity, I believe we have only one option, which is to seize it with both hands. Madam Speaker, to implement our transformation requires a new mode of governance. We appreciate the important import of saying that the more of the same is no longer enough. We also appreciate that there are always new ways to do things to maximize the use of public resources. We may not always get it right, and we must be prepared to correct any missteps early. Consequently, to achieve our goal of realizing a modern, prosperous Dominica, this will require a different mode of governance. We will seek to implement governance that is more consultative and able to quickly identify challenges and solutions, one that makes policy choices and decisions based on regional and international evidence, as well as our local experience, and one that is unafraid to regularly expose itself to independent expert scrutiny. Madam Speaker, it is with this in mind that 5 months ago, the Cabinet set out on a dialogue with the people that took the form of town hall meetings. To date, almost every village in every constituency has met in dialogue with ministers. These exchanges have been frank, rich, and informative for all, and have formed the basis for the plan we are unveiling today. We shall continue with this mode of public consultation. Madam Speaker, we will need more, however. We propose in this budget to establish a National Fiscal Policy Panel, NFPP, made up of 3 independent experts with outstanding international reputations to provide the government, Parliament, and the nation with independent economic advice on matters relating to tax and spending policy during this transformation. Part of the NFPP's work will be to advise the government on economic and fiscal policies. Madam Speaker, the establishment of the NFPP is an indication of the strength of our determination to realize a modern Dominica and the depth of our humility. Madam Speaker, it goes without saying that while today I lay out our economic plans for a modern, prosperous Dominica, we know that economic prosperity is but one of the means to the achievement of our goal of a just, peaceful, and prosperous country. At another time, I will lay before this House other initiatives of this government that build on a strong economy to further these vital goals of our society. Madam Speaker, if we are to be a modern, prosperous nation, our people must be highly skilled and engaged in value-added activities that are globally competitive. It is important to spell this out and to explain what it is not. Skill, knowledge-based, value-added, and outward orientation must be the hallmark of the new modern Dominica. We will not be prosperous without a highly skilled population. It means that our primary investment must be in developing the skills of our population. But the modern challenge is that the skills of today and tomorrow are not the same as those of yesterday, and are often not those taught in traditional educational establishment. We must therefore consider new ways of investing in our people, including ways that put more resources in the hands of all working Dominicans to help them upgrade their skills and themselves to be able to earn higher incomes. These highly skilled people must be engaged in value-added activities, not the simple exploitation of our natural environment. Value-added can be in the production process, such as in the development of specialty bananas or other fruits. It can be in post-production, such as processing, packaging, and marketing. Small farmers and small businesses have particular challenges in adding value to their products, and this is where government can help. However, the projects targeted would have to be prioritized. This will require greater collaboration between ministries and the private sector. Elements of this can already be found in our agricultural, tourism, and manufacturing sectors. The region, including Dominica, already has the highest tertiary education emigration rates in the world. We must therefore encourage skilled and productive Dominicans to remain at home or return home. If we're to capitalize on the investment in these new skilled individuals, this requires a radical shake-up of the costs attached to living and working in Dominica: taxes and licensing fees, energy costs, transport costs, and financing costs. We will make a radical start in the fiscal measures that will be announced in this budget, and we commit to doing much more. Madam Speaker, in Dominica, economic activity expanded during 2016, with preliminary GDP estimates indicating real growth of 2.8%. This performance was driven by increased activity in some of the main productive sectors, namely agriculture, livestock and forestry, fishing, mining and quarrying, electricity and water, construction, financial intermediation, education, and other community, social, and personal services sector. The agriculture, livestock, and forestry sector grew by 9.9%. The banana subsector is estimated to have grown by approximately 14% in 2016, while the other crops subgroup also is estimated to have grown by 10.5%. The electricity and water supply category realized an overall growth of 3.2%. While the electricity subgroup grew by 4.5%, the water supply subgroup declined by 1.1%, mainly due to drop in the number of gallons consumed by commercial, industrial, and government industrial consumers, along with sheep sales. In addition, according to company sources, some domestic lines in the storm-stricken areas were still not reinstalled until the beginning of the second quarter of 2016, thereby affecting domestic consumption. Construction activity is estimated to have increased by 31.8% in 2016, while the mining and quarrying sector is estimated to have grown by 17.6%. Despite the 2.8% growth in 2016, there have been uneven performances in some sectors. Output in the manufacturing sector is estimated to have contracted, in part due to damage to the plant and subsequent closure of a major manufacturing firm. However, due to the efforts of government, this firm has reopened and should be fully operational by the end of this year, Madam Speaker. The wholesale and retail trade sector recorded a 0.7% decline. In spite of an increase of 5.2% in total stay-over arrivals, the output in the hotel and tourism sector declined by 12.8% in 2016. It is estimated that the average length of stay during the period was shorter. However, growth in the financial intermediation sector was recorded at 7.8%. A growth rate of 13.9% was recorded under the auxiliary financial intermediation subsector, followed by the banking subsector with 8.7%. The education sector registered growth of 4.8% for the 2016 period, reflecting mostly growth in private education. The health and social work and other community, social and personal services sector increased by 3.8% and 2.5% respectively in 2016. Madam Speaker, recurrent revenue amounted to $882.4 million for the fiscal year 2016-2017. This includes all receipts from the Citizenship by Investment Program. A total of $507 million was collected under the CBI, of which $334 million was used for budget financing this year. The table below provides a breakdown of the financing components, Madam Speaker, from the CBI funds. Public sector investment program, $206,886,507. Debt payments, $67,112,952.31. Marketing, $40,685,577.50. And due diligence, $19,302,998.12, making a total financing from the CBI of $333,988,034.93, Madam Speaker. In the 2016-2017 budget as presented, recurrent revenue was estimated at $566.7 million for the period. However, an amount of $882.4 million was recorded, with $356 million in tax revenue and $526.4 million in non-tax revenue. Taxes on income and profits for the year are projected to be $67.3 million. This includes $34.3 million collected from corporation and withholding taxes and $33 million collected from personal income tax. Taxes on goods and services are estimated at $200.8 million. Of these taxes, collections from the value-added tax amounted to $145.2 million. Initial estimates of revenue from taxes on international trade and transactions are $78.9 million and include import duty of $39 million. Property tax collected total $9 million. Non-tax revenue collected is estimated at $526.4 million, and this source of revenue is important to the financing of the public sector investment program. Government continues to exercise prudent fiscal management and utilizes tight expenditure controls where possible. Preliminary estimates suggest that total outlays for fiscal year 2016-2017 amounted to $752.6 million. Current expenditures estimates are $476.5 million net of debt amortization and sinking fund. Expenditure on goods and services is estimated at $193.5 million. Outlay for transfers and subsidies is estimated at $102.2 million. Expenditure on personal emoluments amounted to $153.7 million, while interest payments totaled $27.2 million. Spending on the public sector investment program for fiscal year 2016-2017 is estimated at $276 million, with government financing accounting for 75%. Government's overall fiscal operations for fiscal year 2016-2017 have resulted in a current account surplus of $405.8 million. Madam Speaker, as at 30th June 2017, total public sector disbursed outstanding debt, excluding bank overdraft, was $1 billion, consisting of external debt of $730.9 million and domestic debt of $281.6 million. Central government debt accounted for $841 million, comprising $628.9 million in external debt and $212.1 million in domestic debt. Government guaranteed debt was $171.5 million. The guaranteed debt represents 16.9% of the total debt portfolio. The guaranteed amounts are held by statutory boards, with the 8th Bank holding the largest share of 46%, followed by Duasco with 33%. The share of the government debt is just below the target of 17% specified in government's debt strategy. Madam Speaker, as at 30th June 2017, the total disbursed outstanding debt to GDP ratio is estimated to be 61.4%, with central government debt to GDP ratio at 51%. Debt service to current revenue for total public sector outstanding debt is 16%, while central government debt service to current revenue is 12%. Just to note, Madam Speaker, that when this government came into office in February of 2000, the debt to GDP ratio was about 140%, Madam Speaker. The ratio of debt service to current revenue in fiscal year 2016-2017 decreased by 3% over 2015-2016. This improvement over 2015-2016 is mostly as a result of an increase in government's revenue. External debt service to revenue is 12%, and based on the IMF's country policy and institutional assessment, Dominica's threshold for external debt service to revenue is 22%. An external debt service to revenue ratio of 12% indicates that Dominica's policy performance is strong, Madam Speaker. There were no new loans contracted during the financial year 2016-2017. However, government reissued quarterly treasury bills of $20 million on the regional government securities market. All 4 auctions were oversubscribed. And, Madam Speaker, the interest rate was as low as 1.9% on the last auction, which demonstrates, Madam Speaker, the manner in which the private sector in the region views the management of our country's economy by this government, Madam Speaker. Disbursements during the period under review came from committed loans totaling $26.6 million, of which central government disbursement was $9.4 million, while disbursements for government guaranteed loans was $17.2 million. The committed undisbursed debt balance is $219.4 million. The weighted average interest rate of the debt portfolio is at 2.9%. Madam Speaker, in accordance with our vision for realizing a modern Dominica, we have heightened our focus on creating opportunities for upskilling, for adding value, and for earning revenues from international activities. Significant advances have been made in the design, costing, and tendering of the projects that help us to achieve these development goals. The real estate option of the CBI continues to gain popularity in the marketplace, and this has translated to a significant increase in foreign direct investment in the tourism industry, as evidenced by the ongoing construction of a number of major hotels. The most advanced at this stage are the Kempinski and Jungle Bay resort developments. On completion, the Kempinski Hotel will boast 160 five-star hotel rooms, Madam Speaker. Construction of concrete structures is at 90%, and works have commenced on roof installation. The next phase includes the highly skilled areas of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing works. It is projected that between 150 and 250 Dominicans will be employed on the project throughout the construction period. The 120-room Jungle Bay Resort is also progressing satisfactorily. 67 locals are currently employed on this project, and it is projected that over 100 people will be employed by October 2017. Construction is to phase out around December of 2019. Post-construction, Jungle Bay should employ a permanent full-time staff of between 110 and 120 people. The reception, office building, restaurant, and pool, plus 9 villa buildings are currently under construction. It is anticipated that the facility can be opened to receive its first guest in December 2018, with 30 completed villa buildings. Additionally, Guac Cutlet in the south, the Marriott Autograph in the north, and the Hilton Curio in the west will increase our high-quality room stock by 364. Madam Speaker, these high-value brands invest heavily in the training of local staff and make available in Dominica products and services that are of high-quality international standards. Further to the commitment of this government to resettle the displaced residents of Pilit Savan, work on the development of a modern community at Belleville-Chopin is progressing apace. This will see the construction of 341 homes, a farmers market, community center, playing field, and other facilities. 108 Dominicans are engaged on the project in various aspects of the works. Up to 265 Dominicans are expected to be employed throughout the life of the project. Madam Speaker, the manufacturing sector is receiving a boost with the reopening of the Dominica coconut products under local ownership with the support of the government. The new owner has informed that it will take up to 6 months of repair and maintenance of the equipment and building before the plant is operational. 10 employees, consisting of mainly technical and administrative staff, will be employed during that stage, whilst a total of 51 people will be employed during the first year of production. The company has informed that it expects employment to reach a peak of 150 people within a 3-year period. Government's policy of encouraging and supporting developments of small business has gained momentum. Numerous entrepreneurs and innovators covering the fields of manufacturing, farming, fishing, landscaping, health and wellness, agro-processing, auto mechanics, daycare managers, hairdressers, machine shops, culinary, retail, and wholesale enterprises have emerged and are receiving support from the Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development to improve their micro and small businesses. To date, the amount of $13.5 million has been disbursed to Dominicans across the length and breadth of this country. A sum of $460,000 was spent to harness the talent of specific group incubation enterprises in sewing, ICT, organic farming, livestock, agriculture, fishing, and art and craft in the communities of Sineku, Jubla, Paybush, Granby, Castle Bruce, and Grandfont. Other enterprises will be targeted in the new financial year in the communities of St. Joseph, Bells, and Tatan. As a sector, small businesses are confronted with challenges that are unique to the size and to the relatively small markets they serve. Generally, they do not comprise the mainstream private sector organizations, nor are they resourced with the advocacy and negotiating skills that the established private sector is able to procure. Greater clarity is required of the local parameters within which they operate, the concessions and fiscal incentives from which they are to benefit, and the education and research opportunities from which they could also benefit. Towards that end, the Small Business Bill will be presented to Parliament before the end of this calendar year, Madam Speaker. Additionally, and without preempting the provisions of the bill, government is disposed to give in favorable consideration and support to the establishment of a small business council for Dominica. Madam Speaker, Dominica is on a journey of transformation, not just economically, but aesthetically. Major aspects of the rehabilitation of the Douglas Childs Airport, with significantly enhanced safety and security features, have been completed. These include the completion of the apron and runway rehabilitation, extension of the river wall, reinforcements of abutments of the bridge, improved drainage along the runway, rehabilitation of the terminal and installation of new security and baggage handling equipment. Additional works are required and are in progress, including the regrassing and beautification of the airport grounds, further reinforcement of the river berm, and crossing at the eastern end of the runway. While these works were being undertaken at Douglas Childs, we have moved forward with plans for the development of an international airport. More details of the selected site are ongoing. And just to say, next week there'll be a meeting of which ECHO will be represented to go over another stage for the construction of this international airport. And take note, Madam Speaker, an airport development fund has been established as of May 2017 and has been capitalized with US $10 million from the Citizenship by Investment Program. And government has taken the decision that an amount of US $5 million will be paid into that fund on a monthly basis. And I will inform the nation later in this fiscal year on developments relating to this very important project for Dominica. So please, Madam Speaker, stay tuned. Madam Speaker, in my last budget address, I outlined the plan of this government to move forward with the construction of a 7-megawatt geothermal power plant in the Roosevelt Valley to supply clean energy at a lower cost to households and businesses in Dominica. Today, I am pleased to provide an update on the significant progress that we have made over the last 12 months. We have established the Dominica Geothermal Development Company, DGDC, with a full complement of staff to move ahead with the construction of the power plant. In June of this year, the government of New Zealand recruited a project manager who is now engaged with the DGDC. Funding from the project will come from various sources. Government will contribute EC $40.5 million. In addition to government's contribution, we have secured all the funds required to construct the plant for our development partners. Grant funding will comprise an amount of $30 million from the government of the United Kingdom, $5.4 million from the government of New Zealand, $5.4 million from SIDSDA. The government has also applied for a grant funding under the United Arab Emirates Caribbean Renewable Energy Fund. The grant is expected to be between $8.1 million and $13.5 million and would fund a battery storage system to be used in the national electricity grid. Funding will also be obtained from the World Bank in the form of a loan of $16.2 million at a highly concessionary rate of 0.75% with a 10-year grace period and 40 years repayment plan. Madam Speaker, that almost sounds like something I heard on the news something like that. Like $300 a month, Madam Speaker. In addition to the financing required to construct the plant,
government has also been able to secure contingent financing in the event additional production wells are required. The funds have been provided by the Clean Technology Fund in the amount of $24.3 million. The CTF will also provide $6.8 million in the form of technical assistance for advancing the development of a large geothermal plant for export of power to Guadeloupe and Martinique. Madam Speaker, work is ongoing on the environmental and social impact assessment in the Roosevelt Valley. This will take into consideration the impact of the construction and operation of the geothermal plant on the residents of the Roosevelt Valley. Every effort will be made to ensure that adverse impacts on the communities and the environment will be mitigated. Compensation will be given to landowners, and support will also be provided to residents who occupy lands to ensure that they are not left worse off. There is a firm commitment from the government to properly and adequately compensate the landowners in the Roosevelt Valley for their property management. As we speak, Jacobs, New Zealand Limited, our technical consultants, are progressing with the designs of the power plant to be completed by the third quarter of 2017. And the project will go to market for an engineering, procurement, and construction contract immediately thereafter. Once the plant has been commissioned, the DGDC will sell power to DOMLEC to be distributed throughout the country. So far, I have been advised that based on the regulations of the Independent Regulatory Commission, IRC, DOMLEC must pass on the lower tariff to the consumers. That is to say, DOMLEC is not allowed to add to the cost at which the power will be sold. This will ensure that the lower cost of electricity from geothermal will pass through to the consumers of our country. The cost of geothermal electricity sold to DOMLEC will be much lower than the current cost of diesel generation. Negotiations are ongoing with DOMLEC to finalize the terms of the power purchase agreement between the DGDC and DOMLEC. Negotiations are expected to be completed in the coming weeks. Madam Speaker, citizens are delighted at the rate of progress being made in the construction of the new National Hospital. This project has been made possible through the generosity of the government of the People's Republic of China. And we, Madam Speaker, thank them for this most generous gift. The first phase of the new hospital will be completed in October 2017 and will include a new accident and emergency department, radiology, and labs. The new National Hospital is one of the many initiatives being undertaken in order to bring affordable health care to our citizens. Madam Speaker, government utilizes the aid bank as the main financial institution through which special lines of credit are made available to various sectors of the economy. In the budget for fiscal year 2016-2017, special lines of credit were established to facilitate expansion in the agriculture and tourism sectors. In addition, funds were made available for music and artists in the creative industry. The aid bank reports that the funds provided have been on length as follows. 124 loans totaling $2.1 million have been granted under the Special Facility for Agriculture. 3 loans totaling $2.6 million have been granted under the Special Tourism Facility. Madam Speaker, I would now like to set out a number of other policies in the pursuit of our economic vision to realize a modern, prosperous Dominica. Our commitment to develop a modern urban center in Roseau commenced with the construction and commissioning of the new West Bridge. All would agree that this project has taken infrastructural development in Dominica to a new level. Madam Speaker, the construction of the Southern River Wall from the East Lobel Bridge to the market will be done. Work on a section of that wall will commence in August of 2017. The new river wall will serve to protect homes and businesses in the city. Designs for the rehabilitation of 4 streets in Roseau, namely Independence Street, King George V Street, Great George Street, and part of the River Street have been completed and are being reviewed by the stakeholders. The capital city of Roseau and the town of Portsmouth are slated for improvements to enhance their visual appeal and make them safer for citizens and visitors alike. The overall program in Roseau considers the following activities: rehabilitation of the streets in the city of Roseau, including drainage, utility upgrade, road pavement, sidewalk, landscaping, and street lighting. A bypass through the Botanic Gardens as well. In Portsmouth, the plan is for the following activities: a bypass road to Cabrits, construction of a multi-purpose public building, rehabilitation of all the streets in the town of Portsmouth. So we'll see, Madam Speaker, major upgrades in the town of Portsmouth and in the city of Roseau. The National Multipurpose Sports Facility. Madam Speaker, our future is not only dependent on the decisions we make relative to our country's economic development, but also the value we place on our youth. Hence, government recognizes the importance of the wholesome development of our youth through sports. As a result, the government of Dominica is presently pursuing the construction of a $40 million national multipurpose facility at Stock Farm as part of our strategy to facilitate the further development of the sports of basketball, volleyball, netball, tennis, and swimming on the island. The provision of this modern facility will meet the standards mandated by the respective international sports federations and associations. To this end, government signed a contract on 9th June 2017 with a Puerto Rican architectural firm, Marquez & Marquez, for the preparation of designs and tender documents. The conceptual and schematic designs have been completed, and the presentation by the firm is scheduled to be made to Cabinet this afternoon, Madam Speaker. Local contractors are urged to make themselves ready to be in a position to bid for the construction of this $40 million facility. Madam Speaker, entrepreneurship is one area where we can draw on the expertise we already have to create new opportunities for others. Earlier, I highlighted the interventions made by government in the area of small business development, and we know the importance of giving our youth an outlet for development with such interventions. Government wants to take this one step further by targeting particular groups of individuals. Among them is a rising number of university graduates returning to Dominica on the completion of their course of study, wishing to make investments in various types of businesses. They are hindered in their ability to do so because of unavailability of financing and the inability to mobilize startup capital. This is one of the issues raised in the various public consultations and town hall meetings held over the past 5 months. Madam Speaker, we have listened the calls of our young people, and we are determined to do something about it. Accordingly, budgetary provision has been made in this year's allocation in the amount of $4 million to provide qualifying individuals with financial support in the form of soft loans to start businesses. They will be required, Madam Speaker, to employ at least 3 people. It is intended that such businesses will operate under the proposed Small Business Act and, subject to the specific conditions, benefit from the privileges and concessions that are provided under that act. Madam Speaker, the significant positive impact that small businesses have on small economies is well known. This government is not only providing an enabling environment, but we are also providing the necessary resources to ensure that these businesses are successful. This is a new initiative and is in addition to the small business assistance that government is already providing. Our commitment, Madam Speaker, to addressing the vulnerability and fragility of the road network in the East-South-East remains unchanged. At present, work is ongoing under the European Union's EU-B envelope of the 10th European Development Fund, EDF. These works, which are well advanced, comprise of slope stabilization, river protection, drainage, construction of a bridge across the Larand River, and partial road pavement resurfacing from Bois-Diable to the Larand River. These works should be completed by end December 2017. This represents the first phase of the rehabilitation of the entire East Coast roads. The second phase of the works will comprise complete rehabilitation and enhancement of 4.6 kilometers of road from Pont-Cassé to the Bois-Diable junction. Works will include implementation of new drainage structures, reconstruction of the road surface, and installation of street lights, road markings, guardrails, and signage. It is expected that work will commence in this financial year. The third phase of work will be from Bois-Diable to the Larand River, while the fourth phase will be from Larand River to the White River. The Odalis slope stabilization, as well as the permanent bridge structure at the Butika River, are very critical and highly technical. These are being treated as separate and urgent interventions. A consulting engineering firm has been identified to prepare the necessary designs. Madam Speaker, the Lubia to Bagatelle Road project, which is aimed at increasing the resilience of the road network in the southeast, commenced in April 2017 with the engagement of a consulting firm to undertake a feasibility study leading to the design of the necessary interventions. Stakeholder meetings have been conducted in the communities to be impacted by the project. We thank the residents of the respective communities who participated in the exercise for their patience and valuable input. I also thank the government of the United Kingdom for the commitment to finance this very important project for us. Madam Speaker, when we talk about building our country, in essence, we are talking about uplifting our people. While it is this government's pledge to ensure that every Dominican has access to education, employment, and equally important housing, we must ensure that each one of us has a home to go to at the end of each work and school day. With this in mind, the housing needs of the population are of paramount importance to this government. We recognize that shelter is one of the basic human needs, and my government's policy is to ensure that no family should be without a roof over their heads, or preferably without a home that they can call their own. Government's program for housing in the nation and for improving overall housing and sanitation conditions has included land settlement and development, home renovation and sanitation, housing resettlement, including most recently for residents of Piditsavan and Jubik, platinum peer housing, and the provision of low-interest mortgage financing through the Housing Loans Board and the Aid Bank. The platinum peer housing development is nearing completion, and 12 families will be receiving the keys to brand new homes next month. 6 of those homes were constructed by the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, ADRA, with the assistance of the government. And I see my pastor, Pastor Jack from ADRA. Thank you very much on behalf of Dominican. You see, I said my pastor. The Adventist community is well respected in Dominica. The other 6 houses are petrocasas donated by the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and were constructed by the government. We anticipate being able to allocate 21 lots in the next few months to residents of the area who have applied. Madam Speaker, this is but one of my government's commitments to the people of that area. Madam Speaker, following the unfortunate Christmas fire at Silver Lake, where 18 families lost their homes, this government provided prompt assistance to those families. A compassionate allowance of $1,000 was provided to each family to enable them to provide for the immediate basic needs. Rental assistance and a displacement allowance were also provided. Simultaneously, the government moved quickly to expedite the construction of permanent accommodation for residents. Already, 6 families have settled into the new homes, and it is expected that the remaining families will be rehoused in new apartments within the next 3 months. Madam Speaker, in Dominica, there is a growing middle class comprising of mainly young professionals and university graduates who struggle under the burden of high rentals and who would prefer that their monthly rentals be converted to an equity stake in their own home. To this end, the Cabinet of Ministers has given its blessings to the Dominica Social Security Board, pursuing the development of a modern, upscale housing development for middle to high income earning individuals in our country. The government is keen to assist with the containment of prices and costs to potential beneficiaries and has readily indicated its willingness to assist with infrastructural inputs as well as duty waivers wherever possible to ensure delivery of high quality, attractive, but yet affordable homes to this emerging category of workers in our midst. And the intention there, Madam Speaker, is if a home would be at a $300,000 cost and the cost of infrastructure will be $50,000, the government would absorb that $50,000 and the Social Security will sell the home to the homeowner at $250,000. That's the intention. I should state here also that this housing development will also target Dominicans living abroad who have a desire to invest and own a valued and valuable piece of beautiful Dominica. Madam Speaker, I do not on this occasion to steal the thunder of the Dominica Social Security, the board, Madam Speaker, so I will confine my remarks to an assurance of the coming on stream of this project within this current financial year. In the meantime, I can assure all who have expressed interest in such a program that the qualifying criteria will not be burdensome, and the loans disbursed through this mechanism should be repaid in full within the working life of the borrower. So be prepared, the middle class and upper middle class, Madam Speaker, to own your own home, because we really have to ensure that everyone in Dominica can own a home and to provide shelter for his family. And that's the government's commitment. Madam Speaker, we recognize that lowering the cost and increasing the capacity of regional and international air connectivity is critical to export orientation. We are in negotiations with airlines to improve the frequency and reliability of flights to and from Dominica. A small regional airline has announced that they will increase direct flights from Barbados and St. Lucia to Dominica. I do not believe, Madam Speaker, that it is too soon for me to share with the public of Dominica the fact that discussions are at an advanced stage for the commencement of direct air access from mainland United States of America to Dominica. This is a very competitive area of endeavor, and I do not wish to speak before the ink bearing our signature has dried. But suffice it to say that I am confident that many overseas-based Dominicans and visitors who will fly to Dominica from the United States next year for the World Creole Music Festival and National Independence and Reunion celebrations will do so by flying either direct to Douglas Church Airport or at most will make one interim stop without disembarking the plane before touching down in Dominica. Madam Speaker, I am confident that I will be able to answer all questions arising from the foregoing in my address to the nation on Independence Day later this year. Madam Speaker, we now move to another major pillar of our economy, the agricultural sector. Over the years, we have witnessed a transformation in the structure of the agricultural sector as the efforts of the government to diversify have borne fruit. Indeed, the picture now developing is one that shows that agricultural diversification is beginning to take root on a scale never seen before. A mix of crops comprising mainly banana, plantain, dasheen, yam, tanya, sweet potato, and ginger now profile the agricultural export sector. This has been due largely to gains made in the support to horticulture program and the success of Dexia's continued efforts in seeking new markets, new export markets. This has been supported by the operationalization of the pack houses in Portsmouth and Roosevelt. Recent market-led developments have helped push this new thrust in agricultural diversification. Madam Speaker, some of these successes include supply of one 20-foot container of dasheen per week to a distributor in Florida, supply of one 20-foot container of dasheen and other root crops per fortnight to a wholesaler in England, the increased supply of mixed produce to the regional market, re-entry into the UK banana market with the support of Winfresh. And I want to thank publicly Bernard Conibert, Mr. Stevenson, what's his first name? Kerwin Stevenson, and also Angus McIntyre for assisting the government in that effort. Increasing the number of micro, small, and medium agro-processors, particularly in the areas of passion fruit juice, pepper sauce, cassava, cocoa, coconut oil, herbs, and spices. In order to take advantage of these initiatives and opportunities, Dexia, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, has identified a core group of farmers committed to producing the required 500 tons of dasheen to fulfill the current and growing export demand. The farmers, selected from the 7 agricultural districts, are being supported to ensure a steady supply throughout the year. The specific strategy being adopted by the Ministry of Agriculture and Dexia targets 336 acres spread among 112 farmers with a minimum of 3 acres per farmer annually. Production will be staggered by scheduling the planting of half an acre per farmer every other month. Working collaboratively, the Ministry of Trade, the Division of Agriculture, Dexia, and the Bureau of Standards are delivering support services to the farmers, which include production support, quality assurance certification, processing, market support, and value added. The farmers will be expected to supply labor for land clearing, planting, and harvesting. Those who require working capital would be recommended to the aid bank for loans at an interest rate of 3%, commensurate with the time of harvesting of the crops. So there'll be amendments to the agricultural loans at the aid bank. So if you're in dasheen, Madam Speaker, we will increase the moratorium of paying up to about this period, up to about 8 or 9 months to allow for harvesting management. And I want to publicly thank Mr. Greg Thomas and Dexia, because sometimes we criticize them. When they're doing well, Madam Speaker, we must also recognize the effort. And I want to really thank them. Madam Speaker, I have elaborated on the strategy for developing and expanding dasheen production to highlight the approach being taken by the Ministry of Agriculture for increasing production of all the crops, including plantain, yams, tanya, sweet potato, hot peppers, and passion fruit. In an effort to revive the banana industry and resume exports to the United Kingdom, government has embarked on a series of interventions. Building materials valued at $330,470 was provided as a grant to 54 core farmers to upgrade park shed structures. This will allow them to meet the global good agricultural practices standards. The Ministry of Agriculture has ordered an additional 60,000 tissue culture banana plantlets at a cost of $88,000. 15,000 of these plantlets have already been distributed to farmers. The second batch of 15,000 has been winned and hardened and will be distributed in August. The third batch of 30,000 plantlets will be received in August, and fertilizers and other inputs have been provided to all farmers who receive tissue culture plants. Madam Speaker, it must be noted that all of these plants are being winned and hardened at the Chinese Smart Greenhouse at the Portsmouth Agricultural Station. Government has established a revolving fund from the proceeds of the sale of fertilizers and agricultural spray oils received from the European Union-funded Banana Accompanying Measures, BAM. This is to allow for sustainability and to ensure that farmers can obtain fertilizers and spray oil at subsidized prices on a continuous basis. The ministry has also distributed free of charge 2,525 kilogram bags of fertilizers to farmers producing banana, plantain, vegetables, root, and other crops to boost production. Spray oil is also being sold at all agricultural stations at subsidized prices. Madam Speaker, I will now present the estimates for revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 2017-2018. Total revenues identified for financing the budget for the year are estimated at $918,255,358. Total expenditure is expected at $930,185,008. The overall budget can be summarized as follows. Recurrent revenue, $786,462,296. Recurrent expenditure inclusive of debt service, $580,482,418. Debt amortization and sinking fund, $49,369,020. Current account balance, $253 million. Local capital revenue, $5,050,000. Capital expenditure, $349,702,590. The capital program will be funded as follows. Grants in the sum of $77,212,282. Loans to the value of $49,530,781. Local funding in the amount of $222,959,528. This will be met from resources raised under the Citizenship by Investment Program. The primary balance after grants is estimated at $13,512,000, or a primary surplus of 0.8% of GDP. Table 2 of the printed text shows the overall summary for the fiscal year 2017-2018 with comparative figures for the previous year. Madam Speaker, in respect to recurrent revenue of $786.5 million is estimated for the year. The components of recurrent revenue are as shown in table 3 of the printed text. Madam Speaker, consistent with the anticipated growth in the economy, tax revenue for the fiscal year is projected at $365.5 million. Taxes on domestic goods and services take up the largest slice at $203 million, or 25.8% of the total. This is followed by corporate income tax estimated at $39.8 million and personal income tax at $34 million. Non-tax revenues in the sum of $421 million are anticipated. A significant part of non-tax revenue will come from the Citizenship by Investment program, which is expected to contribute $399.9 million for the year. The total amount budgeted for recurrent expenditure, inclusive of interest and debt amortization for the coming year, is $580.5 million. This compares to $447.7 million for the previous 2016-2017. Recurrent expenditure, net of debt amortization and sinking fund, is estimated at $531.1 million. Table 4 of the printed text shows the distribution of recurrent expenditure by ministry and department. Madam Speaker, the budget for the Ministry of Finance is $241.9 million. Included in this amount is a provision for meeting the cost of promotional activities and payment of due diligence fees relating to the Citizenship by Investment program in the sum of $101.7 million. The amount of $75.8 million is being provided to facilitate payment of interest and debt amortization. Interest payments are estimated at $26.4 million, while a sum of $49.4 million is expected to be spent for debt amortization and sinking fund contribution. The amount of $34.5 million is allocated for retiring benefits to public officers, gratuities to officers on contract, the payment of compassionate allowances, and to meet payment of non-contributory pensions to senior citizens over the age of 70. The Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development will receive the second highest allocation of $73.4 million, or 12.6% of the recurrent budget. Madam Speaker, it is government's policy to continue to provide support to our education system at every level. This year, an additional $1.2 million will go towards the cost of computers and IT equipment to facilitate online testing for students writing the CSEC examinations, and a further $3 million is being provided to support postgraduate studies. The Ministry of Health and the Environment will receive $61.8 million, or 10.6% of the total. An additional sum of $5 million is budgeted to meet the cost of pharmaceuticals, while a further sum of $1 million is to facilitate an increase in the government subvention to the Dominican Solid Waste Management Corporation as we seek to promote a healthy and cleaner environment for all. And in respect to the $5 million, Madam Speaker, for pharmaceuticals, this is a major commitment by the government to acquire these pharmaceuticals to pass on in large measure free of charge to many of our citizens who are suffering from cancer. The cost of treatment post-surgery is prohibitive, and the intention there is to make this available to the public for distribution, to minimize on the suffering of so many of our family and friends who suffer from various forms of cancer in our country. The Ministry of Justice and National Security will receive an allocation of $49.5 million, or 8.5% of the total. An additional sum of $1.4 million is being provided to meet litigation costs for the coming year. The Ministry of Public Works and Ports is allocated $36.9 million, or 6.4% of recurrent expenditure. An additional amount of $5 million is provided for road maintenance activities. The Ministry of Social Services is allocated $18.5 million, or 3.2% of the recurrent expenditure. The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal is allocated $17.8 million, or 3.1% of the budget. This represents an increase of $3.5 million in the marketing budget to allow for increased marketing in the major source markets, improved connectivity, and promotional activities leading up to Reunion 2018. The increased allocation will also allow for expansion in community tourism, enhancement of various tourism sites and urban areas, and development of the yachting sector. Madam Speaker, Table 5 of the printed text provides a summary of recurrent expenditure by economic classifications. Madam Speaker, the sum of $164.9 million, or 28.4% of the total estimated for meeting personal emoluments. This is made of salaries, wages, and allowances. Goods and services account for $237.9 million, or 41% of the total. The sum of $96.3 million, or 16.6%, is estimated for transfers and subsidies, inclusive of retiring benefits. This year, Madam Speaker, the estimated capital expenditure is $349.7 million. Table 6 of the printed text provides a breakdown of the PSIP by ministry. Madam Speaker, I will highlight some of the projects included in the program. In agriculture, Madam Speaker, many of the identified growth-enhancing public investment projects cover the strategic areas for agriculture within the GSPS, namely, development of the banana and plantain subsector, support to horticulture sector, and vegetable expansion are in support of the strategy to promote and encourage investment in agriculture. Cocoa rehabilitation and expansion of coffee, and expansion projects encouraging priority investment in downstream high-value added production and processing of products. Enhancement of phytosanitary capacity of the plant protection and quarantine unit, and operationalization and commercialization of the National Abattoir address the strategy to strengthen the policy, strategic planning, and management capabilities to support sustainable agricultural development. Rehabilitation of trails and facilities within the national parks and ecotourism sites, and construction and repair of bridges, segments 1, 3, and 5 of the Waitukubuli National Trail. Reinforce linkages with other growth-enhancing sectors, particularly tourism. The cocoa rehabilitation and expansion will mainly concentrate on the drying facility and entail the increase of teams and collaborations of cooperatives. In respect of the 3.8% sectoral growth estimated for 2017-2018, $22.7 million is proposed for investment in the agricultural sector. Madam Speaker, in respect to tourism, the proposed growth-enhancing public investment portfolio for tourism sector has 4 main objectives. These are tourism site enhancement, construction of the Roosevelt Promenade, community tourism expansion, and urban renewal, that is for Roseau and Portsmouth. In respect to trade and commerce, the total growth portfolio for ongoing and new projects within the trade subsector is valued at $13.1 million, and the commerce subsector is valued at $24.4 million. Of the amount for commerce, $20 million is allocated to provide support for enterprise development and manufacturing. The 2 ongoing projects for the commerce subsector are seen to contribute to achieve the following strategic areas: promote small business development, focus support on rural businesses through improving the enabling environment for business development in rural areas. All the projects for commerce are to be domestically financed and represent direct injection in the private sector for creating an enabling environment for growth of local business, trade, investment, and sustainable economic growth. The growth-enhancing projects under the trade subsector seek to address the following strategic gaps: effective coordination amongst producers to support export demand, closer working relationship between the Dexia and the exporters. These are addressed through the operationalization of the multipurpose pack houses, certification to ensure quality products for exports through the implementation of the Fresh Produce Act, improvement of vending facilities in the Roseau market. In respect to housing, the quality housing is an important feature of a decent standard of living. For the upcoming fiscal year 2017-2018, 4 major projects have been determined to be potentially large contributors to economic growth for the year. These are the National Resettlement Program, the Housing and Sanitation Program, the Land Settlement and Development Project, and the third Water Supply Project, with a total estimated cost of $28.4 million. The estimated total cost for the transport sector is $17.2 million and represents the amount to finance additional infrastructural works at the Douglas Childs Airport Phase 1 and 2. These projects are financed from domestic resources. This significant investment covers continuous restoration and rehabilitation activities, in addition to modernization of the facility, given that air access improvements remain a critical need. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Public Works and Ports receives the highest allocation of the capital budget. The majority of projects continue from fiscal year 2016-2017, representing priority interventions following the passage of Tropical Storm Erica. Among the major projects to be undertaken by the Ministry of Public Works and Ports are the following: Roseau Enhancement Project, rehabilitation works onto the Eo-Libla Highway, including the construction of 3 new bridges. This is being financed largely through grant funding from the government of the People's Republic of China. Rehabilitation works along the Dr. Nicholas Liverpool Highway, continued dredging of major rivers. Madam Speaker, the Roseau Valley, known for having the highest concentration of tourist attractions, continues to be a priority for this government. Recognizing the vulnerability of the area, no effort will be spared to construct a resilient network of roads and bridges. At this time, the realignment of the Cabinet Road has been completed. In fiscal year 2017-2018, work to rehabilitate the Wharton River Road will continue with the resurfacing of a section of road from the Coptal Bridge to Mount Prosper Junction. Designs for other sections of that road will commence this year. Madam Speaker, a project valued at $1.6 million to restore access to improve the safety and security of road users in Providence, Loda, has commenced. The construction of the York Valley Bridge is nearing completion. Designs have been completed for the road between York Valley Bridge and Hillsborough Bridge. A firm will be engaged to prepare designs for the area from York Valley Bridge to the Poncase Junction. A contract has been awarded for the rehabilitation of the area northwest of the Hillsborough Bridge along the Eo-Libla Highway, which was impacted during the passage of Tropical Storm Erica. Construction works in all 3 areas are expected to begin during this fiscal year. Madam Speaker, an amount of $4.1 million is budgeted to complete the dredging of the Roseau River, as well as to construct 71 meters of river wall spanning from the New West Bridge towards the East Low Block Bridge. In addition, an allocation of $8.1 million has been set aside for the next phase of the Roseau Enhancement Project, which will include the rehabilitation of 3 major streets in Roseau. The rehabilitation of the Charles Avenue in Goodwill, which is being financed by the Highway Maintenance Levy, commenced last month and is expected to be completed by mid-November. Allocations have also been made for the rehabilitation of the following: the Eggleston Road, Emsall Road and Bridge, $4.2 million, and Monbus Road rehabilitation, $500,000. The sum of $1.97 million has been allocated for reinstatement and protection works of the Penville-Gillett Road. Ongoing works on the Banana Company measures feeder roads will be sustained with an allocation of $4 million, while $2.7 million has been set aside for the continuation of works on the Carhome Road. To enhance visibility and safety of motorists and pedestrians, government will continue the solar street lighting project along the Eo-Libla Highway and the Dr. Nicholas Liverpool Highways, with an amount of $4.1 million provided in this budget. Madam Speaker, the list I have presented is not exhaustive, as many other infrastructural interventions will be undertaken at the constituency level. Madam Speaker, the Growth and Social Protection Strategy, GSPS, articulates government's commitment to facilitate the use of alternative energy, in particular, the phased development of geothermal energy for local consumption and export, the former contributing to a reduction in the cost of living and doing business through lower electricity prices. Provision is made for the construction of the domestic geothermal energy plant. Madam Speaker, while our gains in health have been impressive, the sector is expected to gain a new impetus with the construction of the new National Hospital, a $117 million project funded again by the People's Republic of China. An amount of $9.2 million is budgeted for this fiscal year. In addition to this new state-of-the-art facility, we expect to see work commence on the new Marigot Hospital with part funding of a $13.5 million grant from the government of Mexico. Other infrastructural projects carried for this financial year include construction of 3 new health centers in Collio, Vickers, and Bellevue-Chopin, and improved health infrastructure in Roseau and Newtown. With funding from the UK Department for International Development, DFID, implementation by the Pan-American Health Organization, PAO, in the amount of $5 million, 4 health facilities, namely in Laplane, Roseau, Granby, and Portsmouth, will be retrofitted as smart health centers. The environment, Madam Speaker, is one of the priority sectors in the National Planning Dialogue and encompasses recommendations centered on environmental sustainability and climate resilience initiatives. The largest capital project in 2017-2018 budget is the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. The total estimated financing requirement for this project is $24.2 million. Among the activities to be implemented are the construction of the 8 storage tanks on the West Coast, the rehabilitation of some sections of the East Coast roads, and construction of a building to house the Met Office. Dominica's population, Madam Speaker, is small relative to the land size. It is expected that the Population Policy and Action Plan will support the integration of population and development issues into policies and programs in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Madam Speaker, the Government of Dominica, in collaborating with the Caribbean Development Bank and the OECS Commission in the conduct, is collaborating, Madam Speaker, with the CDB, the OECS Commission, in the conduct of a country poverty assessment. The overall objective of the CPA is to assess the current conditions affecting the welfare of people, identify policies, strategies, action, programs, and projects that will reduce the extent and severity of poverty in Dominica, enhance social development, and improve overall quality of life in our country. Update on BICO and CLICO insurance matters. Madam Speaker, the Monetary Council, working through the technical committee appointed by the Council, has made some progress in recent weeks in its efforts to resolve the BICO-CLICO matter in the interests of the ECCU policy holders. In regard to BICO, it is expected that payments to BICO policy holders, including the 386 policy holders of Dominica, will be made from end November to December 2017. So some monies will be paid out, Madam Speaker, to policy holders who are policy holders of BICO. In regard to CLICO, Madam Speaker, the Technical Core Committee appointed by the Monetary Council continues to work with Barbados Legal Counsel in seeking to secure the interests of the ECCU policy holders in the ongoing Barbados First restructure plan. The intention is to reach a mutually acceptable position that would have policyholders regain their investments. Madam Speaker, the following measures have been identified for consideration in the 2017 budget address. The measures include some articulated by government and others coming out of the consultative process. Throughout the fiscal year 2016-2017, government continues its engagement of many stakeholders, and in the immediate lead up to the budget, special meetings were held with the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, the Building and Contractors Association of Dominica, all trade unions, and the Dominica Manufacturers Association. Madam Speaker, the government of Dominica has adopted a policy of ensuring that all Dominican families have the chance of pursuing educational opportunities at all levels. Madam Speaker, we applaud all those who have taken the initiative to pursue studies in a range of disciplines and subjects. However, having arrived at this juncture of our development, there is need to refocus training on the specific expertise required to advance our development agenda. We salute all those who have already seized the opportunity in that respect, as we equip our citizens with the knowledge and skills necessary for achieving the vision of building a new and modern Dominica. To encourage study in the areas that the country needs most, we propose to amend the guidelines under which educational assistance is provided at the tertiary level. This will include a review of the priority list used by the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development and other institutions like the Aid Bank and the Dominica Social Security. Towards that end, the Ministry of Education has written to critical agencies in the private sector and civil society to get their input into the formulation of the final list of priorities. The conditions that will apply to full sponsorship and part sponsorship will also be specified. There will be an approved list of universities that prospective students can attend if they are to be assisted. Madam Speaker, there are 3 specific areas within education to which special attention will be paid. 1, government has seen the need to improve the physical facilities to ensure that students who are physically challenged have equal and ease of access to education. To complement the physical infrastructure, government through the Ministry of Education will be introducing special training of teachers to teach students with special needs in our country. The training will also include a component of engaging parents of children with special needs so that adequate support is provided within the family to address the needs of these children. But, Madam Speaker, in the second decade of the 21st century, we should not have parents making choices, parents with children with special needs making choices as to whether to send their children to school or to keep their children home, or whether to work or be unemployed. And I've met too many parents in Dominica who have had to make the choice of staying away from the workplace to care for the children. And this government is committed to putting an end to this and ensuring that our children with special needs are part of our mainstream society. So we will not only be training teachers, but we'll also be providing parents with the wherewithal and the knowledge and skills and the resources required to ensure that the children can live decent lives in our country. The second area, Madam Speaker, of focus for government is support for postgraduate study. In many disciplines, the capacity available is limited to undergraduate degrees. There is need to improve the level of specialization in a number of key disciplines in our country. That process has already started in the health sector, where priority has been given to training of doctors in specialties that were not previously readily available in Dominica. Capacity deficits in other disciplines will be captured in the priority list. So we are embarking on a program to aggressively take our young people from the undergraduate level to postgraduate level to have more PhDs and to have more master's degrees in our country, to take our country to the level which we'd like to take it, Madam Speaker. And the third, Madam Speaker, Government also proposes to direct some financing to some critical areas which appear to be in short supply and which are necessary to complement government's investments in other areas. One critical area of need is the skill set needed to maintain and sustain the investments in the tourism sector. To grow the tourism sector, there is need for efficient, well-trained frontline staff who can provide quality customer service at all levels of the industry. The government therefore proposes to provide support to people intending to pursue studies in such disciplines as hospitality, hotel management, culinary arts, landscaping, carpentry, masonry, tile laying, and other hotel maintenance services. In addition, skills required in the manufacturing sector, such as those of equipment maintenance officers, mechanical engineers, and technicians, are in high demand, and this sector will also receive support. Through the Dominica State College, government will partner with the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association to implement an aggressive training program to develop a pool of frontline employees for the hotel and restaurant sector. It is proposed that the hospitality apprenticeship training program will be expanded. This apprenticeship program will provide training in the following areas: bartending, front desk operations, reception, wait service, housekeeping, and food preparation, introduction to tourism, and customer service. This program will run over a period of 12 weeks and will include classroom and on-the-job training and will target 50 individuals in the first instance. In addition, the Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal is working with the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development on a CBQ tourism training program, which will focus on introducing CBQ Level 1 and 2 certification for the tourism sector. The intention, Madam Speaker, is to train interested people at a tertiary level and that they be granted diplomas and postgraduate diplomas. Where necessary, the Dominica State College will need to work with other tertiary institutions, such as the University of the West Indies and the University of Technology, Jamaica, in the development of the relevant curriculum and accreditation of the programs being offered. For all of the critical areas mentioned, government will provide grants to qualified individuals to pursue these courses of study. The relevant budgetary provision of $3 million is included in the budget. Investing in skills is critical, Madam Speaker, to realizing our vision. We appreciate that our training initiatives are extensive and have grown somewhat incrementally, and we will recommend that the NFPP reviews all fiscal expenditures on training to examine whether there are ways of making our spending even more effective and relevant, and where there may be positive linkages with the rest of the economy. Madam Speaker, for many years, the Dominica Coconut Products Limited was the main company in the manufacturing sector. The destruction of the facilities during Tropical Storm Erica and its subsequent closure emphasized the need to broaden the base within that sector. Assistance was provided to a local company to restart operations at the DCP. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, we gave this company a loan of $2 million to be able to acquire DCP and have it recommence production. It is also important that other companies begin making a more substantial contribution to manufacturing. The Government of Dominica held discussions with the Dominica Manufacturers Association, DMA, on the possibility of providing assistance to the sector over and above what is currently available to them. On the basis of the proposal submitted by the DMA, government has agreed to the establishment of a $15 million special loan facility at the Aid Bank to meet the needs of the manufacturing sector in Dominica. The funds will be lent to the manufacturers for the following purposes: working capital, expansion and/or improvement of manufacturing plant, construction of facility, purchase of equipment and machinery, and systems upgrade. To be eligible, the manufacturer should be engaged in manufacturing in Dominica, and such eligibility would include new and existing manufacturers who are currently in active production. Startups will be channeled through the Invest Dominica Authority. The loans will be made available to manufacturers on the following financial terms and conditions. Interest rate will be at maximum 3%. Maturity period of 5 to 12 years. Grace period of up to 12 months for investments and 3 months for loans contracted for working capital. Consistent with provision with previous special facilities, and on the basis that the special facility is intended to create new business or enhance the quality and volume of products of existing businesses, government maintains the position that loans under the special facility will not be used for refinancing. To ensure that the items to be produced are of acceptable quality, it will be necessary to ensure that appropriate non-financial terms and conditions are in place. Madam Speaker, the conditions that I have mentioned and the others which will form part of the requirements for the facility were submitted by the Dominica Manufacturers Association. It is our hope that this measure will yield substantial benefits to the manufacturers and to the economy as a whole. The Aid Bank, as the administrator, will ensure that all best practices adopted by the bank in its normal business supply, along with the conditions specified by the government, are adopted. Madam Speaker, government is in support of measures to improve the health and safety in the workplace. The Labour Division in the Ministry of Justice, Immigration and Labour has been engaged with the private sector bodies in establishing a policy on occupational health and safety. The Builder and Contractors Association of Dominica, BCAD, is one of the private sector organizations in the forefront of efforts to improve the safety at the workplace. BCAD proposed the introduction of legislation to regulate minimum standards of safety at the workplace, particularly at construction sites. In addition, BCAD recommends the grant of concessions on safety equipment used at the workplace. The following products were identified for relief of import duties in light of the above. Industrial gloves of leather, imitation leather, leather harness and bandoliers, safety leather clothing accessories, safety vests, earmuffs, industrial gloves of textile, life jackets, life vests, footwear with metal toe cap, safety headgear, protective mask, and respirators. Safety headgear and life jackets, vests are already free of import duty in the Common External Tariff, CET, while import duty is applicable on the remaining commodities. The industrial gloves, safety footwear, and protective masks and respirators are the only 3 products with HS codes which are specific to them. The other items will require the engagement of CARICOM Secretariat to deal with breakout tariff numbers. Government has therefore decided to pursue the preparation of legislation and to provide a legal framework that mandates minimum health and safety requirements in the workplace in Dominica. The Labour Division of the Ministry of Justice, Immigration and Labour is mandated to lead this process. In addition, effective October 1, 2017, and consistent with Section 11(16) under the list of conditional duty exemptions of the Common External Tariff, the import duties on industrial gloves, safety footwear, and the protective masks and respirators will be set at 0. Madam Speaker, reference is made elsewhere in this presentation to the soon-to-be accelerated ROSO enhancement program. We have spoken in the past about the need to improve the road infrastructure. The New West Bridge provides a glimpse of the type of infrastructure excellence we seek to pursue. One expects equal impact from rehabilitation of roads and sidewalks in ROSO and in the town of Portsmouth. But what, Madam Speaker, of our buildings, both private, but both commercial and residential? What would be the point of modernizing our roads and sidewalks and leaving buildings in a dilapidated state, Madam Speaker? As a government, we believe that our efforts to create modern urban centers must be complete and comprehensive. And it is for that reason, Madam Speaker, that I am happy today to announce a special Roseau and Portsmouth Enhancement Initiative, whereby effective January 2018, the government of Dominica will permit a 1-year relief of duties and other levies, with the exception of the VAT, on all refurbishments of commercial and residential properties in these two historic cities. Madam Speaker, I have deliberately given the relevant authorities 5 clear months to flesh out the formula by which these exemptions shall be granted, and to adequately sensitize and educate property owners on how the system would work. What I am assured about, Madam Speaker, however, is that I would like to see by January of 2019 an almost new look Roseau and Portsmouth communities, resplendent in the color and vibrancy of a modern and industrious Dominica. Tax waivers and exemptions would apply to all approved building materials, interior and exterior wall finishings, roofing materials, pavement improvements, just to name a few. Immediately after passage of this budget, I shall seek to establish a joint public-private sector working committee to formulate specific details for the working of this measure, which I am confident will result in the rapid modernization and beautification of the historic city of Roseau and the town of Portsmouth. Madam Speaker, small countries like ours do not have an overabundance of high-level manpower resources. It is imperative that efforts be made to bring together the intellectual capital required for the conceptualization and formulation of economic and social policies as we seek to maximize economic growth and social and economic development. The public service plays an important role in the formulation of public policy, but has limited capacity and capability for carrying out all of the tasks assigned to it. The National Fiscal Policy Panel, NFPP for Dominica, can complement the resources of the public service and bring increased substance, objectivity, and independence to the deliberations of the government. A National Fiscal Policy Panel can make of enhanced national governance through its consultations with and openness to various groups and individuals in the society who may have ideas and proposals for moving the country forward and dealing with the pressing issues of growth, social integration, and employment generation. It can provide a forum where various studies and reports that have been conducted on Dominica can be brought to the table and deliberated on with a view to advising on possible approaches to their implementation or integration into broad national policy. To perform this function well, the NFPPA must have credibility, both in terms of its composition and independence. Its membership must include persons who themselves have intellectual credibility, whose training and work experience enable them to make a contribution to the work of the panel, and who can bring intellectual independence and objectivity to the consideration of important national issues, while being sensitive to social realities and possible unintended consequences. The transcendent purpose of the panel would be to advise the government on how to maximize opportunities for increasing economic growth, social integration, and employment generation. The panel would need to be supported by a small secretariat of persons with research capability, energy, and competence in economics, social sciences, or other related fields. The National Fiscal Policy Panel for Dominica will be modeled on fiscal policy panels established in Jersey and elsewhere. The terms of reference for a National Fiscal Policy Panel for Dominica could include the following: to serve as a sounding board for government policy proposals and to provide guidance on its efficacy, efficiency, and implementation. To provide a forum for groups and individuals to recommend and comment on policy proposals. To review documents emanating locally, regionally, and internationally on matters of economic and development policy, with a view to advising on the utility for purposes of national growth and development. To keep the state of the economy, including fiscal, sectoral, and institutional issues, under constant review, with a view to be helping to ensure consistency with broad national goals, identifying areas of concern, and making recommendations for treating with them. To monitor the implementation of policy decisions, with a view to assisting with their effectiveness and efficacy. To review and make proposals for improving the environment for investing and doing business in Dominica and attracting foreign direct investment. To provide critical focus on the growth sectors of the economy and, where deemed necessary, advise on policy matters impacting performance, and generally to assist in ensuring good national economic management, ensuring that there is a sustainable fiscal plan and the maximizing of opportunities for economic growth, as well as enhanced national governance. The members of the panel will be appointed by the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, who will take into account their experience in the relevant fields, for example, in the fields of economics, public financial management, sectoral expertise, private sector expertise. We envisage a series of staggered terms of office of the three experts in order to allow for a good mix of fresh and continuous thinking, with a maximum appointment of a non-renewable 5-year term. The panel will be provided with the resources required to carry out their function. Relevant regional and international institutions such as the OECS, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the CDB, the World Bank, IMF, Qatar, ECLAC, and UE will be alerted to the establishment of the NFPP and to its deliberations, and they will be invited to support its work technically and to attend meetings where necessary on matters where they have the relevant expertise. Madam Speaker, it is my intention to name the members of this distinguished panel of experts within the next 30 days so that its work can commence in earnest, effective 1st September 2017. Madam Speaker, for us to achieve the bold vision enunciated in this presentation, we must have a tax system that incentivizes employment over consumption and income over idle assets. Consequently, Madam Speaker, we shall be directing the national fiscal policy to consider and advise on the abolition of the 15% and 20% income tax bands as early as the next fiscal year. Under this proposed system, Dominicans will only start paying income tax when the income reaches the 35% tax rate. This is a major, bold move, Madam Speaker. Yes. By this measure, we remove all the payments from the payment of income tax. All Dominicans earning less than what can be termed a decent middle income salary, and all of those earning more will only pay tax on their income above this level. In this move, we're saying to all the Dominicans, we're saying to all that Dominica is a place that does not penalize work and income. The most important aspect of this change would be the increased incentives to work and earn, but it will also serve to simplify our tax system with only one rate of income tax. The National Fiscal Policy Panel will be charged with the responsibility of advising on this measure, and I would hope to be in a position as of the next fiscal year to gradually introduce this new income tax structure for Dominica. In the interim, however, Madam Speaker, I am aware of the great relief that our tax structure, as modified over the last 7 years, has brought to hundreds of Dominican workers in the public and private sectors. we moved the income tax threshold from $15,000 to $25,000, and this has aided many. But I do not believe it has assisted enough of our employers. We shall await the advice of the experts, but in the interim, I wish to further ease the burden and enhance the cash flow of workers in Dominica by increasing the minimum income tax threshold from $25,000 per year to $30,000 per year. This means, Madam Speaker, that effective 1st January 2018, no person earning $30,000 a year or less will pay income tax, and those working for more than $30,000 a year will have the first $30,000 exempted from income tax deduction. Although this is a major move in regard to incentives in our country, and as a measure of our new direction, the revenue foregone would represent less than 5% of our current revenues. There will be those who will consider that 5% of revenues will be recovered through the expansion of our economy. But we will conservatively assume not, and instead we would moderate our other concessionary expenditures within the fiscal year in order to maintain a near-zero primary balance in our fiscal accounts. This measure is not being funded by debt, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the medium term, we expect to replace this loss of income by adding a new feature to our successful citizenship by investment program. We're examining a plan to encourage some of our new citizens who do not reside in Dominica to consider becoming tax resident here in our country. The advantage for them would be a tax identification number, which is increasingly becoming a requirement for carrying out international business. Our new citizens have already passed a thorough due diligence exercise, and for those wishing to become tax resident here without being resident in Dominica for the normal requisite time, we may give them the option of becoming tax resident as long as they pay a minimum amount of income tax in Dominica. This would serve a number of purposes. Most importantly, it would ensure that our engagement with our new citizens is deeper and more continuous. But it also has the potential to provide a substantial amount of additional revenue annually. It is likely that this new proposal, which must be designed carefully so as to maintain the integrity of our existing program, could yield more than $34 million raised last year by all of our existing income taxes. Madam Speaker, we're excited that this proposal would graduate the CBI program to a new level, from a program based around an initial investment to one where there was a constant flow of annual taxes from new citizens. As soon as we are satisfied that we have the right design and fully assess the cost and benefits and the risk and opportunities, we will bring it to the Parliament. Madam Speaker, this budget sets out this government's direction and plans for building a new and modern Dominica in a way that enhances the lives of all Dominicans. In our commitment to involve the people in all aspects of governance, this budget is a cumulative effort, as is evidenced by a resulting dialogue with this country's social and economic partners. In this budget, we have set out to begin a further transformation of our economy to the next level of growth and prosperity. We set out how we plan to play a part in a caring and inclusive government that seeks to build, protect, and preserve our country for future generations through entrepreneurship, citizen-centered development, and social responsibility. I want to thank those who have been in discussion with government over the past year on the policy and administrative matters affecting the operations. I am particularly grateful to the representatives of those sectors who accepted government's invitation to participate in the National Consultation on the Economy, which was held at the State House Conference Center on 3rd April 2017, and follow-up discussions which took place over the last few weeks. Their constructive and spirited observations and suggestions have helped in shaping this budget statement, and once again, I profusely thank them all, Madam Speaker. I have said repeatedly over the years that no one outside of Dominica owes Dominica anything. This is our island, and each of us resident in Dominica, or who are proud citizens of this beautiful country, have a duty and a responsibility to assist in our nation's development. I have observed with interest and great satisfaction the extent to which many citizens have derided the constant attempt by some to portray our country in a negative light. I think we would all agree that notwithstanding their continued efforts, Dominica continues to impress all and sundry. With its progressive form of national development that has seen the quality of life of citizens improve over the past 17 years. I am confident, Madam Speaker, that with the measures outlined in this presentation, and with a bold decision to reduce taxes and costs, our people can approach the new fiscal year with continued confidence and with a determination to play their individual and collective roles in building back better this beautiful country of ours. Madam Speaker, we are saying once again that we will run our affairs responsibly to be in a position to reduce financial strain on our people and increase the opportunities. Madam Speaker, it is my hope and fervent wish that Dominicans would treat to these policy measures in a responsible and mature manner. We need to formulate a greater sense of investment and entrepreneurship. Young Dominicans in particular need to see lower taxes and public investments in their education and training as reason to start saving earlier. To move to the next level, we need to combine the government's generous provision with an increased sense of individual responsibility over how that generosity is best used to further individual opportunities, training, housing, and good health. These are the purposes to which I would like some of the savings and opportunities created by this budget to be channeled. Madam Speaker, I am confident about the future of Dominica. I am excited about the path ahead. I look forward to working with our advisors and public officers and the people of Dominica to realize a new, modern, and prosperous Dominica for all. And I am confident, Madam Speaker, that we can achieve our goals by the grace of the Almighty Father. Madam Speaker, this is our country to build, and we're putting out a clarion call to all our citizens, both here and abroad, to work together to create and to realize that modern, prosperous Dominica for all. Thank you, and God bless you. Madam Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned to the Friday, the 28th of July at 10 a.m.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the debate on the motion be adjourned to Friday, the 28th of July. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honorable House stands adjourned until Friday, the 28th of July at 10 a.m.